O great sun, frigid son of Sol, your ice sun hails strength, doesn't it?
Hello everyone, I hope your day's going great. Over the last 2 weeks I have been translating what many know as map obelisks. Map obelisks are the places where you grab the map fragment which advances your map further, allowing you to see further. And while they seem pretty simple, pretty rudimentary, I thought that, and many others have as well. But in true FromSoftware fashion, this could not be further from the truth. In fact, when you actually properly take a look at the text inscribed onto these massive obelisks, you'll find it is in fact futhark. Now if you don't know what futhark is, which by the way, I don't blame you for that, futhark is quite a niche thing. Futhark stands for the runic alphabet. But contrary to its name, there are dozens upon dozens of runic alphabets. You've got things like Younger Futhark, the famous Elder Futhark, Long Branch, Short Branch, Staveless, Anglo-Saxon Futhark. Something all these alphabets share in common is their relation to Scandinavian culture. You see, Scandinavia has rich history, it has rich culture, and it, has rich mythology. Now, I love Scandinavian mythology, or as some of you might know it, Norse mythology. Now if you're still wondering, what on earth is Norse mythology? What on earth is Gecko talking about? Has he finally lost it? Now on the finally lost it part, possibly, that's a very high possibility, and I would not be surprised, but that is a topic for none of these videos because we do FromSoftware. If you look at Marvel, look at two of its main protagonists, Thor and Loki, and while they are both really bad interpretations of their Nordic counterparts, they still are interpretations and hold some key elements that just can't be screwed up. But getting back onto topic, the clogs in my brain started clicking when I remembered a video I'd watched about a year ago by a creator named Miquella, where she talked about the connections between Norse mythology and Elden Ring. In retrospect, it's literally right in front of us. One of the main ones was, look at the Erd tree. It's basically identical to the Yggdrasil. Hell, the Erd tree even has children, just like the Yggdrasil. So when I realised this, and I realised how much Elden Ring takes inspiration from Nordic mythology, I thought, you know what, Dylan, Gecko, you love futhark. Because I do. I absolutely love translating futhark. I love learning it. To me, it's so bloody fascinating, and I love it so much. So I decided, why not use my knowledge of futhark to try and translate some kind of text inside of Elden Ring. And with the knowledge that FromSoftware has in fact used futhark before in subtle ways, like the Titanite slab, I set my goal of trying to use my knowledge of it to find something truly interesting. And I succeeded that goal beyond my wildest imagination. I had my goal, but the real question was, where do you even start with something like this? So I reached out to an amazing YouTuber named the Tarnished Archaeologist. I contacted him via email and I asked, where do you think would be the best place to start? He gave a few suggestions, but I ended up going for the mountaintop of the giants because the fire giants are intermingled with the ice giants, which are intermingled with Nordic mythology, and Nordic mythology is intermingled with futhark. After you've watched this video, if you're not already subscribed to Tarnished Archaeologist, please go and do so, and please go and watch some of his content because it's awe-inspiring, the amount of detail that he's put into his videos, and he is one of my favourite Souls YouTubers of all time. I know it's already been 4 minutes, and I know that this is probably the longest intro I've ever done, but I really did think it was important for the video to give context and build up a story for you all today. I won't keep your ears hostage any longer. There's something you need to know about these obelisks before we go into the translations. These obelisks are really old. We can't know for certain, but I theorise perhaps they are from the very early stages of the Golden Order, or perhaps from when they first established their control over the lands between. As we see, multiple of them are literally covered in dirt. They are so old that even new layers of the lands between covers them. And with this comes the erosion of the scriptures, which is really sad, as we might never know the full message, but I will do my best to translate it. But please understand that some runes have half of it missing, some have 3/4 missing, some have all of it missing. so there is a possibility that there might have been mistakes made along the way. I'm only saying just in case there is, because it is genuinely almost impossible to translate every single one on point, because there's so many runes that look like each other when they have half missing. And that's one of the main reasons why this video took so long, because I've literally spent hours looking at single runes trying to figure out which one it is. We're actually going to talk about the translations now. If you want to find these translations, wait until the end of the video and I'll tell you where you can find them. Obelisk scriptures are split into 3 panels. The first panel has 8 rows, the second 17 rows, and the third 9 rows. Something you're bound to see in the translation is the little word EF. Now, normally you might think this stands for Elder Futhark, but in fact I've come up with the term Elden Futhark because Elden Ring officially has its own language. And really, in retrospect, this shouldn't be surprising, considering Islet had its own language in Dark Souls 1, and 2, George R.R. Martin, who is the father of the Song and Ice and Fire series, and who had a big hand in creating Elden Ring's lore, does in fact make his own languages. 2 good examples would be his Valyrian language and his Dothraki language, both from his famous book series A Song of Ice and Fire. Elden Futhark seems to take some inspiration from hieroglyphs, given that it uses images sometimes instead of the standard runes. Some memorable examples would be the God-slaying blade, a short being giving an arching tall being a gift, and the Great Rune, which will be very, very integral to the translations we will talk about in a second. Something to also keep in mind is FromSoftware does use other panels at different points. For example, panel 1 is actually used in the second half of panel 2, and panel 3 is used at the top half of panel 2. The first panel is mostly comprised of Elden Futhark, but the first actual comprehensible 2 words we get are Thurs and O, which respectively translates to giant, being Thurs, and O being heritage. It's impossible to know 100% what else is said on this row, as there's only one other letter that is revealed, but I'm guessing perhaps this giant heritage has something to do with the massive skulls. We talked about it a lot in one of our previous videos. If you want to go check that out, please do so after this one, but if you want a quick TLDR, I'll give you one. We talked about that perhaps the fire giants are descendants of these giant corpses. Now, what else could giants' heritage mean? The fire giants' heritage would be these giants. Maybe that's what it's linking at. Maybe in these Elden Futhark characters that we can't possibly translate, it talks about these corpses. But that is just a stretch of me trying to understand these letters. And while that's fine and dandy, and well, it was really cool mentioning the giant's heritage, the next one changes Elden Ring's story forever. It starts with an ice rune, and then after that there's an Elden Futhark rune which looks really, really similar to a great rune, and then an ice rune again. My interpretation of this is an ice great rune. Now you see what's so intriguing about this is each great rune has some sort of property to them. For example, Malenia's is one of decay. Now I know originally it was meant to be the purest of the great runes, but I would not be surprised, as I imagine the last thing Marika would want would be one of her children to be viewed as such a vestige of decay. At least not a third one. A few Elden Futhark runes later, we actually find something even more interesting. It mentions the Ice Sun. Now, the Ice Sun, it sounds cool, but you might not realise at first glance what this is talking about. At Castle Sol, we hear about something called the Frigid Sun. Frigid is another word for cold, and cold is associated with ice, leading to the Ice Sun. We hear about this Frigid Sun talked about all the time, and we later learn in Castle Sol that this Ice Sun is actually the eclipse, which is linked to Miquella. We know this by the fact that one of Miquella's subordinates is actually located at Castle Sol. You see, their mission there was to fill some comrade of Miquella's soul. Now, who on earth is his comrade, and why does he need his soul filling? The Ice Sun is also known as the eclipse. Now, this eclipse we can see dotted around Castle Sol, and it's not like the kind of eclipse we have back on our planet. It's different. It reminds me very heavily of the kiln of the first flame in Dark Souls 3. You know, when you look up at the sky and you see the dark sign in the sun. I was perplexed until I remembered states of matter. Ice is just a solid, frozen version of water. They are the exact same thing. With this established, we can now go on to the fact that each outer god represents a different part of the world. And you want to know what's even more interesting? Is the fact that there is already a water outer god. The very same water outer god that the blind swordsman worshipped, who just so happened to seal away the scarlet rot and train Malenia, which then would have led him to have met Miquella and then become comrades, and then later in life become allies of war. Personally, I've always wondered, who is Miquella's outer god? Well, what if it's this water outer god? Hell, what if the blind swordsman never even sought out Malenia? What if he sought out Miquella? Miquella cares deeply about his sister. No matter what he's done, we know 100% that he cares implicitly and unconditionally for his sister. What if one of the conditions for Miquella joining the water/ice outer god was in fact the training of his sister? We know in her youth Malenia was frail and weak and ailing, but at some point during her teens she became strong and agile, and in her adolescence she became what was known as one of the most strongest swordsmen in the lands between. The next line of importance goes as follows: wealth, elder futhark, heritage, disease, space, gift, journey, horse. Elder futhark, elder futhark, elder futhark, space, elder futhark, giant, gift. To begin, wealth. Now it might be a bit confusing why it would be there, but in fact disease and wealth go hand in hand in this scripture. Heritage, disease, which means hereditary diseases. We do see this in the lands between. The omens being a good example. The omens were bestowed a curse of despair, and this curse was passed on to their children, and then their children, for all time. This is a hereditary disease. Perhaps this is similar, just in a different sense. And then it spaces and goes gift, journey, horse. Now, to me it seems like someone's got a gift. They're taking the gift on a journey on a horse. And then it goes giant gift, which then makes me think that the gift is being carried by a giant. So it's a giant going on a gift, on a journey, with a horse. As FromSoftware reuses its runes, we go to the third panel, second row. Human god, giants, EF wealth, gift, EF, 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 ice, fire, ice, ice. Firstly, the human god and giant, they all synergise very well. Perhaps it's suggesting a god giant, or perhaps a hybrid human giant. Next it says EF wealth, wealth gift, which is then related to disease as well, so perhaps a disease gift. And then finally, ice, fire, ice, ice. Now this is really important to Norse mythology. Ice giants, fire giants, Ragnarok, they're all connected, which adds so much to this. Next we go to the third panel, sixth row. It starts with rain/iron soul, EF, EF, ice, EF gift, 3 more EFs, joy, giant, gift. On the rain/iron soul, perhaps it's talking about the rain upon the sun, which then led to the eclipse and to the ice sun. On the ice gift, I theorise that perhaps the EF means giant in Elden Futhark, ice giant gift. This is reinforced even more by a few runes later saying joy, giant, gift. Next we move to the third panel, 8th row. Joy birth, gift horse. Ice human/god disease. EF, joy, the end or underworld. For starters, the joy of birth and the gift of a horse, or it could be talking about the birth of the horse, and the horse birth was a gift which brought joy. Next it takes a space and then it does ice human/god disease. Now I'm thinking it's a disease of ice, perhaps that affects either a god or a human, as it can mean either. Then it does EF joy, the end or underworld. Perhaps there's joy that the end is coming, perhaps the disease is so terrible that they just want it all to end. Next is wealth, which is another example of wealth being used right next to disease, which then suggests wealth maybe has something to do with this disease. Next it takes a space before saying human/god plenty EF tree of life. Perhaps there's plenty of tree of lives, the minor Erd trees, the children of the Erd tree. I don't know, that's just speculation. I'm really not sure where human/god fits into it though. EF, wheeled journey, ice. I theorise that perhaps this is talking about the journey the Ice Outer God went through. It went from water to ice, and then it could even go to gas. You know, it could mean a lot of things, and I think this is talking about the circle of life of ice. Now for my favourite one. But before that, I wanted to say a few things. First of all, if you've gotten to this point in the video, thank you so much. I love making videos, and the growth on the channel has been insane. Secondly, if you are enjoying the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. It's been a wild ride, but I'm so glad that I'm able to give this information to you all. The third panel, ninth row, starts with man, space, ice, sun, hail, strength. I'm not sure what significance a man has. Perhaps it's addressing someone, and then it spaces to ice, sun, hail, strength. The ice sun is hailing strength, sort of how like Godfrey goes, the crown is warranted by strength. Hailing is like greeting or welcoming or praising someone, and in this case praises the strength of man, as we see at the beginning of the sentence. Next is space, protection, ice giant, wealth. I see this as protection from the ice giant's disease, because we know that wealth is also used sometimes in tangent with disease. That's my opinion, or it could mean that the ice giants were wealthy, but I do think that's very unlikely. And finally, Sol, Castle Sol, horse gift. Someone's gifted someone a horse. They are riding that horse that is a gift to an ice lake. Now, because Castle Sol's mentioned, in this context, they were either gifted the horse or they gave the horse to someone else. I believe they actually gifted it to someone else, because right next to Castle Sol is an ice lake, and upon that ice lake is a church of Marika. Now, you might be thinking, what on earth? What does it have to do with anything? But it has to do with everything. Are we ever told where Torrent came from? No, we just know he was Melena's before he was given to us. What if Torrent was a gift to the Golden Order, which was then given to the Glow-eyed Queen, which was Marika's child? And considering Melania is 99% confirmed to be the Glow-eyed Queen, she then gave it to us. Or alternatively, the horse was given to Miquella, and then Miquella eventually gave it to Melania for some reason. As we do see in the Shadow of the Erd Tree screenshot, that what looks to be Miquella is in fact riding Torrent. To clarify, what I've just said is my opinion. You're completely entitled to not believe me, but that is just my observation and my thoughts. And that's it, guys. I'm not even kidding when I say that it's probably the longest video I've ever done. Not just in actual recording time and how long the video is, but how long it's took me to actually get the evidence for it and decipher. It's like 40 odd rows, and it's brutal, but it was so much fun. I love futhark, I love everything to do with it. It was a ton of fun, great thought exercise. I will say though, I did feel like crying at multiple points, because it was just brutal. But if there's one thing to take away from this video, is to go out there and explore Elden Ring, because next year it will be 2 years since Elden Ring released, and if this has only been just discovered, what else could have been discovered? It is insane, and I am going to try to decipher more stuff, but I also implore you all to go out there and have some fun deciphering. And if any of you do that, come join the Discord, which is in the pinned comments and the top of the description, and come let me know about your discoveries, and I'll come watch the video, because I'm just like you all, I still watch FromSoftware videos all the time. Now, if you're still wondering where you can find the full translation, it will be in a docs link in the pinned comment and at the top of the description, where you can go in, and there's key codes there for the terms I've used, so hopefully it won't be too rough. Anyways, I won't keep you any longer. I really do hope you have a great rest of your day, and may you find your worth in the waking world. Goodbye, everyone.